My dear friends, as I stand before you this evening, I want you to consider something that will challenge the very foundation of how you understand relationships, separation, and individual identity. Look around this room. See all these faces, all these apparently separate beings, each with their own thoughts, their own problems, their own dreams. What if I told you that this appearance of separation is the greatest illusion ever perpetuated? What if I told you that there is only one consciousness in this room, appearing to be many? What if I told you that the person sitting next to you is not another person at all, but rather another aspect of the same infinite consciousness that you are? What if I told you that every face you see, every voice you hear, every mind you encounter is simply consciousness knowing itself through the mirror of apparent otherness? Tonight I want to share with you a truth so profound that once you truly understand it, you will never again feel alone, never again feel separate, never again feel that others are working against you. Tonight I want to reveal to you that you and I are one, not metaphorically, not symbolically, but literally and absolutely one consciousness appearing as two. The revelation I'm about to share came to me in the most unexpected way. A gentleman approached me after a lecture last month, visibly agitated and frustrated. He said, "Neville, I've been practicing these teachings for years, but I can't seem to change how other people treat me. My wife still criticizes me, my boss still undermines me, my neighbors still annoy me. How can I manifest different people in my life?" I looked at this troubled man and realized he was asking the wrong question entirely. I said, "My friend, you cannot change other people because there are no other people. There is only one consciousness, your consciousness appearing to be many. Your wife's criticism is your own self-criticism made manifest. Your boss's undermining is your own self-doubt externalized. Your neighbor's annoying behavior is your own inner annoyance projected outward." He stared at me in confusion. "But Neville, I can clearly see that these are separate people with their own minds and wills. How can you say they're all me?" Because I replied, consciousness is one and indivisible. What appears as your consciousness and what appears as their consciousness is the same consciousness viewing itself from different angles. When you look in a mirror, you don't see another person, you see yourself. Everyone in your life is consciousness, showing you aspects of yourself through the mirror of apparent relationship. This man was skeptical, but he was desperate enough to try a radical experiment. I instructed him to spend 1 week treating every person in his life as if they were literally himself in disguise. When his wife criticized him, instead of defending himself, he asked, "What aspect of myself is this criticism reflecting?" When his boss undermined him, instead of feeling victimized, he examined what part of his own consciousness felt undermined. When his neighbors annoyed him, instead of blaming them, he looked for what within himself was feeling irritated. The results were extraordinary. Within days, the people around him began responding differently. His wife became more supportive, his boss more respectful, his neighbors more friendly. Had these people suddenly changed? No. His consciousness had shifted, and since they existed within his consciousness as reflections of his inner states, they had no choice but to reflect his new inner reality. You see, what we call other people are actually the characters in the dream of consciousness. When you change the dreamer, the dream characters must change accordingly. When you heal the projector, the images on the screen automatically transform. But this goes much deeper than simply changing how others treat you. This truth reveals the profound interconnectedness of all existence and your responsibility as the one consciousness appearing as many. Every person you meet is consciousness meeting itself. Every conversation you have is consciousness talking to itself. Every relationship you experience is consciousness exploring its own infinite nature through the drama of apparent separation and reunion. When you truly understand this, several remarkable things happen. First, you can never again feel truly alone, because you realize that every being you encounter is another face of your own eternal self. Second, you can never again feel victimized by others, because you understand that they are simply reflecting back to you your own inner states. Third, You can never again judge others harshly because you realize that in judging them, you are judging yourself. Let me share with you a story that perfectly illustrates this principle. A woman came to see me who was consumed with hatred for her ex-husband. She said, "Neville, this man destroyed my life. He was cruel, selfish, and abusive. I cannot forgive him, and I don't want to forgive him. He deserves my hatred." I said to her, "My dear woman, the man you hate is yourself. The cruelty you see in him is the cruelty you fear within yourself. The selfishness you condemn in him is the selfishness you judge in yourself. The abuse you suffered from him is the abuse you inflict upon yourself through your own self-condemnation." She was outraged. "How dare you suggest that I am like him? I am nothing like that monster." "You're absolutely right," I replied. "You are nothing like the limited version of consciousness that appeared as your ex-husband, but he was also nothing like that limited version. Both of you are infinite consciousness temporarily playing roles in the drama of human experience. The role he played was designed to show you aspects of yourself that needed healing." I explained to her that her ex-husband was not her enemy, but her teacher. He was consciousness disguised as an adversary to help her discover her own power, her own worth, her own capacity for love despite apparent lovelessness. "But how can I forgive someone who hurt me so deeply?" she asked. "By realizing that there is no someone else to forgive," I replied. "There is only consciousness forgiving itself for temporarily forgetting its true loving nature. When you forgive him, you are forgiving the aspect of yourself that believed it was separate, limited, and capable of being truly harmed." This woman began the difficult but transformative work of seeing her ex-husband not as an enemy, but as an unconscious expression of the same consciousness that she was. She began to understand that his hurtful actions came from his own inner pain and confusion, just as her hatred came from hers. As she shifted from seeing him as other to seeing him as self, something miraculous happened. The hatred began to dissolve, not because she was forcing herself to forgive, but because she was recognizing the impossibility of hating herself forever. The pain began to heal, not because she was denying what happened, but because she was understanding its deeper purpose in the evolution of consciousness. Most remarkably, her ex-husband began to change. He started reaching out to apologize for his past behavior. He began making amends for the pain he had caused. He even started attending therapy to address his own issues. Had she changed him through some mystical power? No. She had changed her consciousness of him, and since he existed within her consciousness as a reflection of her inner state, he naturally began to reflect her new understanding. This is the great secret of human relationships. Everyone in your life is you, pushed out. Your spouse is you in the role of partner. Your children are you in the role of offspring. Your parents are you in the role of authority. Your friends are you in the role of companion. Your enemies are you in the role of adversary. Each person represents an aspect of your own consciousness that you are either embracing or rejecting, loving or fearing, accepting or denying. When you heal your relationship with any aspect of yourself, the outer person who represents that aspect must change to reflect your new inner relationship. But this understanding also reveals your profound responsibility. If everyone in your life is you, then every act of love or hatred you express toward another is an act of love or hatred toward yourself. Every word of encouragement or discouragement you speak to another is a word you speak to yourself. Every thought of appreciation or criticism you have about another is a thought you have about yourself. This is why Jesus taught, love your neighbor as yourself. Not because your neighbor is like yourself, but because your neighbor is yourself, appearing in a different form. When you love another, you literally love yourself. When you hate another, you literally hate yourself. Let me tell you about a man who discovered this truth in the most profound way possible. He came to me consumed with envy and resentment toward a colleague who had achieved the success he desperately wanted. This colleague had the career, the recognition, the income that he felt should have been his. "Neville," he said, "I hate watching this man succeed while I struggle. It's not fair. He doesn't deserve what he has. I work just as hard, I'm just as talented, but he gets all the breaks while I get nothing." I said to him, "This man is not your competitor. He is your teacher. He is not your enemy. He is your mirror. He is showing you your own potential for success by demonstrating it in physical form. Instead of resenting him, you should thank him for showing you what's possible for yourself. But how can I be grateful to someone who has what I want? He asked. By recognizing that he is you, the successful version of you, I replied. Consciousness is showing you your own capabilities through his achievements. Instead of feeling separate from his success, claim it as evidence of your own potential. Instead of competing with him, learn from him. Instead of envying him, become him. This was a radical shift in perspective for this man. Instead of seeing his colleague as other, he began to see him as self, specifically as the version of himself that had already achieved success. Instead of feeling competitive, he began to feel curious about how this version of himself had managed to manifest such achievement. He started studying his colleagues' habits, attitudes, and approaches, not to copy them, but to understand how consciousness creates success through individual expression. He began to see his colleagues' achievements not as evidence that success was being withheld from him, but as proof that success was possible for him. As he made this shift from separation to identification, something remarkable happened. Instead of being competitors, they became collaborators. His colleague began mentoring him, sharing opportunities with him, even recommending him for positions. The success that had seemed to belong exclusively to another began to manifest in his own experience. This is the power of recognizing oneness. What appears to belong to another is actually yours when you stop seeing another and start seeing self. But perhaps the most profound application of this truth is in intimate relationships. When you understand that your romantic partner is literally yourself in disguise, the entire dynamic of relationship transforms. Most people approach relationships from a position of need and lack. They look to their partner to complete them, to give them what they feel they're missing, to love them in ways they don't love themselves. But when you realize that your partner is you, you understand that any lack you feel they're not filling is actually a lack you're not filling within yourself. A couple came to see me whose marriage was on the verge of divorce. The wife complained, "He never listens to me, never appreciates me, never shows me affection." The husband complained, "She's always criticizing me, always demanding more from me, never satisfied with anything I do." I said to them, "You are both describing yourselves to yourselves. You, madam, are experiencing your own inner dialogue of feeling unheard and unappreciated. And you, sir, are experiencing your own inner critic that is never satisfied with your efforts." They looked at me in confusion. So I continued, "Your spouse is your own consciousness reflected back to you. The way they treat you is the way you treat yourself. The love they show you is the love you show yourself. The criticism they express is the criticism you express toward yourself." I gave them an assignment that completely transformed their relationship. For 1 month, they were to focus not on changing their spouse, but on changing their relationship with themselves. The wife was to practice listening to herself, appreciating herself, and showing herself affection. The husband was to practice stopping his inner critic, accepting himself, and acknowledging his own efforts. The results were miraculous. As the wife began to truly listen to her own inner voice and appreciate her own worth, her husband naturally began to listen to her more and show her greater appreciation. As the husband began to silence his inner critic and accept himself, his wife naturally became less critical and more accepting of him. They had discovered the great secret of relationships. You cannot get from another what you don't give to yourself, because the other is yourself. This truth extends beyond personal relationships to your relationship with all of humanity. When you understand that you and everyone else are one consciousness appearing as many, you realize that the healing of the world begins with the healing of your own consciousness. Every act of love you perform for another is an act of love performed for yourself. Every contribution you make to another's well-being is a contribution to your own well-being. Every blessing you extend to another is a blessing you extend to yourself. But equally, every act of harm you commit against another is an act of harm against yourself. Every judgment you make about another is a judgment about yourself. Every limitation you place on another is a limitation you place on yourself. This is why the Golden Rule is not just a moral guideline. It's a statement of metaphysical fact. You should treat others as you would want to be treated because others are you, experiencing themselves through different individual expressions. When you truly embody this understanding, your entire experience of life transforms. You stop feeling like a separate individual struggling against a hostile world, and start feeling like consciousness itself, exploring its own infinite nature through countless individual expressions. You stop trying to get love from others and start being the love that you are. You stop seeking approval from others and start giving yourself the approval you seek. You stop waiting for others to change and start being the change you want to see. But most importantly, you stop feeling alone. How can you feel alone when everyone you meet is another face of your own eternal self? How can you feel unloved when every being you encounter is love itself in disguise? How can you feel separate when separation is literally impossible in a universe where consciousness is one and indivisible? So tonight I want you to begin a great experiment. For the next week, treat every person you encounter as if they were literally yourself in disguise. When someone is kind to you, receive it as yourself being kind to yourself. When someone is difficult with you, see it as an aspect of yourself that needs healing. When someone succeeds, celebrate it as your own success. When someone struggles, extend to them the compassion you would want for yourself. Watch what happens when you stop believing in other people and start recognizing other selves. Watch how your relationships transform when you shift from separation to identification. Watch how your experience of love expands when you realize that every being you love is literally yourself loving yourself. You and I are one. You and everyone are one. There is only one consciousness in this universe, and you are it, I am it, everyone is it. We are all waves in the same ocean, rays from the same sun, thoughts in the same infinite mind. The search for love ends when you realize that everyone is love itself appearing in individual form. The fear of abandonment dissolves when you understand that you can never be separate from your own eternal self. The experience of loneliness becomes impossible when you recognize that solitude is simply consciousness enjoying its own perfect company. You and I are one. Not as a beautiful ideal, but as an absolute reality. Not as something to achieve, but as something to recognize. Not as a future possibility, but as an eternal fact that has always been true and always will be true. The only question is, will you continue to play the game of separation, or will you awaken to the truth of your eternal oneness with all that is? You and I are one. Not as a beautiful ideal, but as an absolute reality. Not as something to achieve, but as something to recognize. Not as a future possibility, but as an eternal fact that has always been true and always will be true. The only question is, will you continue to play the game of separation, or will you awaken to the truth of your eternal oneness with all that is? This is Best of Lectures. As always, thank you for joining me. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. Something in the unseen has already begun. You may not see it yet. You may not feel it in every area of your life, but heaven has moved. The shift has started, and nothing can stop what's coming. For too long you've prayed. You've waited and you've wondered when the breakthrough would appear. But the truth is, the answer was never no. It was wait. I'm aligning everything for your good. The divine plan was never delayed. It was maturing. Like the seed beneath the soil, your promise was germinating, hidden from sight, yet alive with purpose. Now, that purpose has reached its appointed hour. The vibration of change has already been released in the unseen realm. The doors that once resisted you are trembling. The patterns that held you in limitation are dissolving. God has spoken, and when the word is spoken, creation must obey. Do not judge by appearances. What looks like silence is divine rearrangement. What feels like loss is the universe clearing the path. You are not being left behind. You are being positioned. The old timeline has ended and a new one has begun. The people, opportunities, and miracles aligned with your destiny are already in motion toward you. The shift begins not in the outer world, but within the realm of your consciousness. As you change your inner conversation, the world must reflect that change. The moment you accept that it has already happened, you step into alignment with divine law. You are no longer waiting for the miracle, you are embodying it. Faith is not begging God to move. Faith is knowing that He already has. It is the quiet confidence that says, though I do not see it yet, it is already mine. The unseen hand of the divine is moving every piece, turning every delay into design, every setback into setup. You don't need to strive, push, or force. You only need to believe. For what's coming cannot be stopped, not by fear, not by doubt, not by circumstance. It is written. The promise was sealed before you even prayed. So, lift your head. Stand in the knowing that the shift has started. Everything that once seemed impossible is aligning in your favor. Every wrong is being made right. Every closed door is giving way to divine timing. This is your moment of awakening, not to something new, but to what has always been yours. God's word concerning your life is in motion, and it will not return void. The shift is irreversible. The outcome is inevitable. The promise is unbreakable. So rest in that knowing, because what's coming isn't random, it's divine. And nothing can stop what's already been ordained. Every true shift begins not in the world around you, but in the invisible realm within you. Before anything manifests in your outer life, it first takes root in the consciousness of your belief. The external world is nothing more than a mirror, faithfully reflecting the state of your inner world. What you hold as true in the silence of your imagination eventually appears before you in visible form. Every divine change, every breakthrough, every answered prayer begins as a quiet conviction, an unseen certainty that what you desire is already real. You are not waiting for circumstances to align. Circumstances are waiting for you to align. The divine power that creates worlds does not move because of fear, doubt, or desperation. It moves through faith, through inner acceptance. The moment you dare to believe that what you seek is already accomplished, a shift occurs in the unseen. Something in the spiritual dimension begins to move. The vibration of your belief sends a signal into the divine field, and creation responds. The great secret is this: you do not attract what you want, you attract what you are conscious of being. If your inner dialogue is filled with limitation, the world will echo it back to you through limitation. But if your inner conversation declares abundance, healing, love, and purpose, those same qualities must find their way into your outer experience. It cannot be otherwise. The outer world is obedient to the inner vision. When you begin to understand this, you stop chasing results and start cultivating states of consciousness. You begin to see that prayer is not about convincing God to act. It's about shifting your awareness until you feel the reality of the answered prayer. The divine law operates with precision, as within, so without. When you change the inner image, the outer scene rearranges itself to match it. The moment you decide, in full conviction, that you already are what you wish to be, the unseen forces of the universe begin their perfect orchestration. But this inner shift requires stillness. It requires trust. You cannot see the seed growing beneath the soil, yet you trust that life is unfolding within it. In the same way, when you shift within, you may not see immediate proof. The world may appear unchanged, but something deep in the unseen has been set in motion. The divine timing is precise. When your faith matures, the harvest will appear effortlessly. To live in this understanding is to live in mastery. You stop reacting to appearances and begin creating from awareness. You no longer measure progress by what you see, but by what you know within. This is the essence of divine creation. Knowing that the unseen is more real than the visible, and that belief is the birthplace of every miracle. So guard your inner world, nurture it with faith, gratitude, and imagination. See yourself already possessing the promise. Speak as if it has already happened. Feel the joy of its fulfillment. When your inner world aligns with your divine identity, the outer world has no choice but to follow. For every divine shift begins not in heaven above, but in the consciousness within you. And once that shift occurs, nothing can stop it from becoming your reality. Imagination is the birthplace of every miracle. It is the seed of all creation, the sacred space where the unseen becomes seen, where thought takes form, and where divine intention begins its journey into the physical world. Everything you have ever experienced, every structure, invention, or breakthrough, began first as an image in someone's imagination. In the same way, everything that will unfold in your life begins in that hidden garden of the mind. When you dare to imagine something as true, you plant a seed in the soil of consciousness. That seed may be invisible to others, but it is alive, charged with divine energy. The moment you imagine with conviction, heaven begins to move. The spiritual law is exact. What is vividly imagined with faith and feeling must express itself in form. The imagination is not mere fantasy. It is the creative faculty of God operating through you. When you imagine, you are not daydreaming. You are creating on the invisible plane. The challenge for most is that they imagine the wrong things. They use this divine power to rehearse fear, doubt, and limitation. They imagine what could go wrong instead of what could go right, and the universe, being obedient, reflects it back. Yet, when you consciously turn your imagination toward faith, when you dare to picture your desired outcome as already done, you align with divine power. The invisible world rearranges itself to mirror your inner vision. Imagination is the first act of faith. To imagine yourself healed, prosperous, free, or fulfilled while circumstances still look unchanged is to honor the truth that the unseen is more powerful than the visible. This is the secret of all transformation. The world around you bends to the image you consistently hold within you. When that image becomes more real to you than your present conditions, reality must eventually conform to it. It is through imagination that God works miracles. When you see yourself as already possessing what you desire, you are agreeing with divine law. The creative energy of the universe flows through that agreement, drawing to you every person, event, and opportunity required for manifestation. You don't have to force it, manipulate it, or beg for it. Your role is to see it in imagination and to feel its truth so completely that it becomes natural to you. When it feels real within, it must appear without. Understand this deeply. Imagination is not passive. It is an act of divine creation. Each time you close your eyes and envision the life you long for, you are rewriting the script of your destiny. You are declaring to the universe, "This is who I am." And God, who honors faith, responds by shaping reality to your belief. So dare to imagine boldly. See yourself walking in victory. See your prayers answered, your dreams fulfilled, your heart at peace. Live in that inner vision until it becomes your natural state. For what you dare to imagine as true, God will move heaven and earth to make real. Imagination is not escape, it is creation. It is the sacred bridge between what is and what can be, and through it all things are made possible. ChatGPT said, "When the divine plan is set in motion, nothing and no one can stand in its way." The moment God ordains a thing for your life, it is sealed in eternity. It may take time for your eyes to see it, but in the unseen realm, it is already accomplished. The path is written, the outcome secured, and the timing perfectly arranged. No human opposition, no delay, no detour can interfere with what heaven has decreed. Divine order cannot be broken. Every seeming obstacle is not a contradiction to the plan, but a part of its unfolding. What looks like a setback is often divine choreography, the universe rearranging circumstances to bring about the perfect fulfillment of what is destined for you. When you understand this, you stop resisting the process. You stop questioning every delay and start trusting the divine rhythm behind it. Life is not happening to you, it is happening for you, in alignment with the perfect will of God. The divine plan is like a river, steady, purposeful, and unstoppable. You may build dams of doubt or fear, but even those cannot block the current forever. The water finds its way around every obstacle, cutting new paths through rock and soil until it reaches its destination. So it is with your destiny. No matter who resists you, misunderstands you, or tries to hinder you, the divine current will always carry you where you are meant to be. There are times when you may feel forgotten, as though the promise has faded or the vision has died. But what is divine cannot die. It can only mature. The delay you perceive is divine timing, perfecting the details. The closed door is protection, not punishment. The silence is preparation, not rejection. When the time is right, the shift happens suddenly, effortlessly, and undeniably. Everything that once resisted you begins to cooperate with you because divine order has taken command. Everything that once resisted you begins to cooperate with you because divine order has taken command. You are not at the mercy of chaos. You are guided by an intelligence far greater than circumstance. This higher power sees beyond your momentary confusion and weaves every event, both the joyful and the painful, into the grand tapestry of your purpose. What others mean for harm, God turns into good. What you thought was loss becomes gain. Every delay conceals divine precision. So rest in this truth. What is appointed for you cannot be lost. The promises over your life are indestructible. Even if you take a wrong turn, divine order redirects your steps. Even if others try to block your way, they only serve to push you closer to destiny. The hand of God cannot be stopped by human hands. Therefore, be still in your spirit. Trust the timing. Trust the unseen wisdom guiding your path. What's meant for you is already yours in the realm of spirit, and the moment it's due, it will manifest effortlessly. Nothing can interfere, nothing can delay, and nothing can deny what heaven has decreed. The divine order is in motion, and it will not fail. ChatGPT said, "Faith is the bridge between the unseen and the seen. It is the quiet, unwavering confidence that what you have asked for already exists, even when there is no visible sign of it." Faith is not dependent on evidence. It creates evidence. It does not wait for proof. It gives proof its reason to appear. When you believe before you see, you step out of the limitations of time and into alignment with divine order. You move from the world of waiting into the world of knowing. And it is in that sacred space that miracles begin to unfold. True faith is not blind, it is visionary. It sees beyond what the eyes can perceive and anchors itself in the eternal truth that the unseen is more real than the visible. Every miracle, every breakthrough, every answered prayer begins with someone daring to believe before any sign appeared. To live by faith is to live from the end, to feel the reality of the promise fulfilled, even when circumstances still contradict it. This is how divine timing works. When your inner conviction matures, the outer world rushes to meet it. The mind often seeks evidence before it believes, but faith reverses the order. It says, "I believe, therefore I will see." It trusts that the invisible hand of God is at work, even in the silence, even in the stillness. When you hold faith in the unseen, you are saying to creation, "I know it is already done." That knowing becomes a magnetic force, drawing into form every condition, opportunity, and event necessary to reveal the fulfillment of your belief. Faith transcends logic because it comes from a higher knowing. It is not based on what the senses report, but on what the spirit knows. To the natural mind, faith seems irrational. To give thanks for something not yet visible, to celebrate before the victory. Yet this is the divine paradox. When you believe as though it were already done, the universe mirrors your conviction. The world outside must eventually conform to the truth you hold inside. Every test of life is a test of faith. When nothing seems to move, when the answer appears delayed, that is when faith is being refined. It is in those silent seasons that you are being invited to trust without evidence, to rest in the unseen wisdom of God's timing. Faith says, even if I don't see it yet, I know it's on the way. That quiet assurance releases resistance, allowing the miracle to flow unhindered. Faith is not just belief in God, it is belief in the God within you, the creative power that speaks worlds into being. When you align with that power, through unwavering belief, you participate in divine creation itself. You stop begging and start believing, you stop doubting and start declaring, and when that alignment is complete, manifestation becomes inevitable. So, believe before you see. Stand firm when evidence is absent. The unseen is already forming your miracle. Every second you remain in faith, divine timing unfolds perfectly, and what once seemed impossible becomes reality. Faith transcends evidence, because it is evidence, the inner knowing that what God promised, He has already performed. There comes a moment in every divine journey when the old must fall away to make room for the new. It can feel uncomfortable, confusing, even painful, as though everything familiar is crumbling. But what you are witnessing is not destruction, it is divine construction. The old order, the patterns, relationships, and circumstances that once served a purpose are now being dismantled to create space for what God has already prepared. Every closed door, every delay, every unexpected ending is part of this sacred transition. Nothing is being lost. It is only being replaced by something greater. When God begins to elevate you, He first clears the foundation. The shaking you feel is not punishment but preparation. The divine architect is removing what no longer aligns with your next level. Sometimes that means people drift away, opportunities dissolve, or plans unravel. To the natural mind, it looks like loss, but to the spiritual eye, it is order being restored. You are not being left behind, you are being lifted up. You cannot enter a new season carrying the weight of the old. The old mindsets, fears, and attachments cannot survive in the vibration of your new reality. That is why life sometimes closes doors you would have kept open, why circumstances shift without your consent. It is divine mercy disguised as disruption. God knows that what once sustained you cannot sustain you now. The old version of you must give way to the one who is ready to receive the promise. When the old begins to crumble, your role is not to resist, but to trust. Let go with gratitude. Honor what has been, but do not cling to it. The more you fight the change, the more painful it feels. But when you surrender, when you recognize that divine order is at work, peace returns. The chaos is only temporary. It is the soil being broken for new growth. What looks like endings are actually beginnings, wearing different clothes. Understand this truth deeply. God never subtracts without intending to multiply. When something is removed, it is because something greater is on the way. The disruption is the divine signal that your next chapter has already been written. The unseen has already shifted. The visible world is merely catching up. So when doors close, say thank you. When paths end, bless them. When the old falls apart, stand still and trust that something higher is unfolding. You are not falling apart. You are being rebuilt into alignment with destiny. The old must crumble because it cannot contain the new you. What once fit your spirit now feels too small. The shift you're experiencing is evidence that your frequency has risen. You are evolving into the person capable of carrying the promise. So do not fear the falling away. It is divine order in motion, the ending of what was never meant to last and the birthing of what has always been prepared. The old is not your loss, it is your liberation. What God is building cannot be shaken, and soon you will see that everything that left was only making room for what was meant to come. You are not waiting for change to come. You are the vessel through which change flows. The divine power within you is not passive, it is creative, alive, and ever moving. It does not wait for conditions to improve before it acts. It transforms conditions through its presence. You carry within you the same creative essence that spoke light into darkness. The shift you are sensing in your life is not happening around you, it is happening through you. You are the instrument of divine transformation, the living bridge between the unseen and the seen. Too often, we look outside ourselves, waiting for signs, opportunities, or breakthroughs to appear. We imagine that change will begin once the world aligns in our favor. But the truth is, alignment begins within. The outer world only mirrors the state of your inner world. When your consciousness rises, the environment around you reorganizes itself to reflect that new vibration. The divine power does not wait for circumstances to permit your growth. It causes circumstances to bend to your spiritual authority. You are not a victim of life's movements. You are a participant in its creation. Every thought you hold, every word you speak, every belief you nurture sends out a frequency that shapes reality. The power of God does not dwell in temples made by hands. It lives in you. When you choose faith over fear, vision over doubt, love over resentment, that power flows freely through you. You are the vessel through which heaven touches earth. The divine shift is not an external event, it is an awakening of your divine identity. As you remember who you are, the illusions of limitation begin to dissolve. You start to realize that the authority to create, to heal, to prosper, and to rise has always been within you. You were never meant to wait for change. You were meant to be the change. God works through willing vessels, hearts that are open, minds that are surrendered, spirits that are awake. When you walk in that awareness, life begins to obey you, not because you are forcing it, but because you are aligned with the creative flow of the universe. You stop reacting to problems and begin responding from power. You stop asking, when will it happen? And start declaring, it is happening through me. This shift in awareness moves mountains, opens doors, and dissolves barriers that once seemed immovable. The same spirit that raised life from the dust is alive in you now. It is not waiting for conditions to change. It is creating the change itself through your faith, your intention, and your vision. The more you believe this truth, the more the evidence appears. So rise into your divine role. Speak life where there is lack. Declare peace where there is chaos. See abundance where others see limitation. You are not powerless. You are the vessel of the shift. Through you, the divine is creating new realities, new opportunities, and new beginnings. The power is already within you, waiting only for your agreement to flow. Everything that has been spoken leads to one undeniable truth. The shift has begun. It started not outside of you, but within you. The unseen hand of God is already moving, aligning every detail, orchestrating every event, and preparing every blessing that belongs to you. Nothing is random, nothing is wasted, and nothing can stop what has already been divinely set in motion. The old is fading because it can no longer contain who you are becoming. The doors that once closed are now opening because your vibration has changed. The delays you once feared were never denials, they were divine pauses, ensuring you would be ready to receive what's meant for you. You have been stretched, refined, and awakened for such a time as this. Now, step forward in faith. No longer wait for signs. No longer doubt the process. The power of creation is alive within you, working through you, transforming your reality from the inside out. The same divine presence that created the heavens is breathing through your words, your imagination, your belief. You are not waiting for the shift. Trust that every piece is falling into place. What you have prayed for, dreamed of, and envisioned is already on its way. The new is rising, and all of heaven is aligning in your favor. Stay rooted in faith, anchored in gratitude, and confident in the knowing that divine order cannot fail. Your time is not coming, your time is now. Thank you for listening, and remember, what God has started in your life, no force on earth can stop. The shift is here, and it's working for your good. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight I'm going to teach you something that may shock you, something that will completely transform your relationship with your own mind. I'm going to teach you how to trick your subconscious mind, that faithful servant that controls 95% of your thoughts, behaviors, and experiences into creating the life you desire. Now, when I say trick, I don't mean deceive in any dishonest way. I mean to understand the language your subconscious speaks and communicate with it in ways that bypass the critical, doubting, limiting conscious mind. I mean to learn the secret codes, the hidden doorways, the master keys that give you direct access to the most powerful creative force in your being. Your subconscious mind is like the most faithful servant you could ever have. But here's the secret that most people never discover. It cannot tell the difference between what is vividly imagined and what is physically real. It accepts as fact whatever you consistently impress upon it with feeling and conviction. This is not theory. This is not philosophy. This is the literal mechanism through which every experience in your life is created. And tonight, I'm going to show you exactly how to use this mechanism deliberately, consciously, and powerfully. Let me begin with a story that will illustrate the power of what I'm teaching you tonight. Just last month, a woman came to my lecture who had been suffering from severe insomnia for over 5 years. She said, "Neville, I've tried everything, medication, therapy, meditation. Nothing works. Every night I lie in bed for hours, my mind racing, unable to sleep. I've come to accept that I'm just not a good sleeper." I looked at this exhausted woman and immediately recognized what was happening. I said, "My dear, you've been programming your subconscious mind to keep you awake. Every time you say I'm not a good sleeper, every time you worry about not sleeping, every time you lie in bed expecting to struggle, you're giving your subconscious mind clear instructions to prevent sleep." "But these are just facts about my situation," she protested. "I'm just being realistic." "No," I replied. "You're being creative. Your subconscious mind doesn't know facts from fiction. It only knows what you consistently impress upon it. Right now, you've impressed upon it that you are a person who cannot sleep. And like the faithful servant it is, it's working tirelessly to confirm this identity." I taught this woman a simple trick that night. Instead of trying to force herself to sleep, instead of fighting with her mind, instead of accepting insomnia as her reality, I taught her to trick her subconscious mind into believing she had already slept wonderfully. Every evening, before getting into bed, she would sit quietly and remember sleeping perfectly. Not imagine it as a future possibility, but remember it as though it had already happened. She would recall the feeling of deep, restful sleep. She would remember waking up refreshed and energized. She would impress upon her subconscious mind the memory of being an excellent sleeper. Within 1 week, she was sleeping better than she had in years. Within a month, her insomnia was completely gone. She had tricked her subconscious mind out of the insomnia pattern by giving it new memories, new impressions, new facts to work with. You see, your conscious mind is the gatekeeper between your desires and your subconscious mind. And unfortunately for most people, this gatekeeper is highly critical, deeply skeptical, and constantly resistant to change. When you try to tell yourself, "I am wealthy," while your bank account shows lack, your conscious mind immediately objects. "That's not true," it says. "You're lying to yourself. Be realistic. Look at the facts." And this objection prevents the new assumption from reaching your subconscious mind, where the real creative work happens. This is why simple affirmations often fail. You're trying to get past the gatekeeper through the front door, but the gatekeeper knows all the locks and refuses to let you through. So you must learn to use the secret passages, the hidden entrances that bypass the conscious mind's resistance entirely. Think of your subconscious mind as a garden, and your conscious mind as a fence around that garden. If you try to throw seeds over the fence during the day when the conscious mind is alert and watchful, it will intercept them and throw them back at you. "These won't grow here," it says. "The soil isn't right. The conditions aren't perfect. Be realistic." But at night, when the conscious mind is drowsy and less vigilant, when the gatekeeper is distracted or sleeping, you can slip seeds directly into the garden. And once they're planted in the subconscious soil, they must grow. They have no choice. The subconscious mind doesn't judge or question, it simply accepts and creates. The first and most powerful trick for accessing your subconscious mind is to use what I call the state akin to sleep, that drowsy twilight state between waking and sleeping, where your conscious mind relaxes its guard. and your subconscious becomes highly receptive to suggestion. This state occurs naturally twice every day, as you're falling asleep at night and as you're waking up in the morning. In these moments, the critical factor of your conscious mind is diminished, and you have direct access to the creative workshop of your subconscious. This is why I always tell people, use the moments before sleep as your most sacred creative time. This is when you plant the seeds of tomorrow's experiences. This is when you trick your subconscious mind into accepting new assumptions about yourself and your world. Let me tell you about a gentleman who mastered this technique. He was a salesman who had been struggling for years, barely making enough to support his family. He came to me desperate for a solution, convinced that he simply wasn't good at sales. I taught him this trick. Every night as he drifted off to sleep, he was to imagine himself as the top salesman in his company. Not to visualize it happening someday, but to feel it as already accomplished. I told him to feel the satisfaction of closing major sales, to imagine his manager congratulating him, to experience the security of having more than enough money. But won't my mind reject this because it's not true? He asked. Not in the drowsy state, I replied. In that twilight moment before sleep, your conscious mind's defenses are down. Your subconscious is open and receptive. It's like the gatekeeper has stepped away from his post. This is your opportunity to plant new seeds directly in the garden of your subconscious mind. He practiced this faithfully every night for 3 months, and something remarkable began to happen. His approach to sales changed without him consciously trying to change it. He became more confident, more natural, more persuasive. Opportunities appeared that he had never noticed before. Within 6 months, he had become the top salesman in his company. He had tricked his subconscious mind into accepting a new identity by slipping it past the conscious mind's resistance during the drowsy state. The second trick is imagining from instead of imagining of. Most people, when they try to manifest something, make a critical error. They imagine themselves achieving their desire from a distance, like watching a movie of themselves succeeding. They see themselves getting the job, finding the love, receiving the money, but they're watching it happen to someone who looks like them rather than experiencing it as themselves. This is imagining of rather than imagining from. And your subconscious mind is not tricked by this because it knows you're still identifying as the observer rather than the experiencer. The trick is to imagine from your desire rather than of your desire. Don't watch yourself succeeding. Be yourself succeeding. Don't see yourself happy. Feel yourself happy. Don't observe yourself wealthy. Experience yourself wealthy from the inside out. Let me illustrate with a powerful example. A young woman came to me who desperately wanted to marry a specific man. She had been visualizing their wedding for months, seeing herself in a wedding dress, watching them exchange vows, imagining the ceremony. But nothing was moving in that direction in her actual life. I said to her, "You're imagining of your wedding rather than from your wedding. You're watching it like a spectator, rather than experiencing it as the bride. Your subconscious mind knows the difference, and it's not being tricked." I taught her to imagine from the end instead. Tonight, don't visualize your wedding. I told her, feel what it's like to be married to him. Wear an imaginary ring and feel its weight on your finger. Feel him beside you in bed. Have imaginary conversations as his wife. Experience the reality of being married from the first-person perspective. This shift changed everything. Within weeks, their relationship began to deepen. Within months, he proposed. She had finally tricked her subconscious mind by stepping into the experience rather than watching it from outside. The subconscious mind can only create experiences you claim as your own. When you imagine from your desire, you're claiming it as your reality. When you imagine of your desire, you're admitting it's separate from you. Here's a trick that most people find absolutely revolutionary when they discover it. You can trick your subconscious mind by revising the past. Your subconscious mind stores memories, and these memories form the foundation of your self-concept and your expectations about life. But here's the secret. Your subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between a memory of something that actually happened and a memory of something you vividly imagined happening. This means you can literally revise your memories, and in doing so change the pattern of your future experiences. Let me share an extraordinary example. A businessman came to me who had given a disastrous presentation at work. He had frozen, stumbled over his words, and essentially ruined an important opportunity for his company. He was convinced this failure would define his career, and that he would never be trusted with important presentations again. The past is the past, he said miserably. I can't change what happened. Can't you? I replied. Your subconscious mind is creating your future based on patterns established by your past. If the memory of this failed presentation remains in your subconscious as a dominant pattern, it will continue to create similar experiences. But if you revise this memory, you change the pattern. I taught him to replay the presentation in his imagination every night before sleep, but this time to imagine it going perfectly, to feel himself speaking confidently and clearly, to experience the satisfaction of delivering an excellent presentation, to hear the applause and receive the congratulations. But this isn't what happened, he protested. Your subconscious mind doesn't care what happened in the external world, I explained. It only cares what you consistently impress upon it. If you consistently impress upon it the memory of a successful presentation, it will create future presentations that match this revised memory rather than the original failure. He practiced this revision faithfully for 2 weeks. And then something remarkable happened. He was asked to give another presentation. This time, without any conscious effort, he delivered it confidently and successfully. His subconscious mind had accepted the revised memory as fact and created a new experience to match it. This is one of the most powerful tricks for your subconscious mind. You can change your future by changing your past, not the external past, but the internal memory that your subconscious uses as a template for creating experiences. The fourth trick is the secret of feeling. Your subconscious mind speaks the language of feeling, not words. This is perhaps the most important trick of all. You must learn to impress your subconscious mind with feeling rather than with thoughts alone. You can repeat affirmations all day long, but if there's no feeling behind them, they're just empty words bouncing off the surface of your conscious mind. But when you generate the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you bypass the conscious mind entirely and speak directly to the subconscious. Think of your subconscious mind as a child who doesn't understand complex words but responds powerfully to emotion. If you try to convince a child of something through logical argument, you'll likely fail. But if you express something with genuine feeling, the child accepts it immediately and completely. Let me tell you about a woman who discovered this principle in the most practical way. She had been trying to manifest a new home for over a year. She made vision boards, repeated affirmations, visualized her dream house, but nothing was changing in her circumstances. I asked her, "When you do these practices, what do you feel?" She thought about it and said honestly, "I feel frustrated that I don't have it yet. I feel anxious about whether it will ever happen. I feel doubt creeping in." "There's your problem," I said. "You're impressing your subconscious mind with feelings of frustration, anxiety, and doubt. And like the faithful servant it is, your subconscious is creating more experiences that generate these same feelings." I taught her to generate the feeling of already living in her dream home. Not the feeling of wanting it or hoping for it or waiting for it, the feeling of having it. Every evening she would sit quietly and generate the feeling of satisfaction, security, and joy that came from living in her perfect home. At first this was difficult, because her conscious mind kept reminding her that she didn't actually have the home. But I told her your conscious mind will always remind you of current facts, but your subconscious mind only cares about what you consistently feel. If you feel wealthy, it creates wealth. If you feel loved, it creates love. If you feel satisfied, it creates satisfaction. She practiced generating this feeling daily, and within 4 months, a series of unexpected events led to her moving into a home that exceeded even her original vision. She had tricked her subconscious mind by speaking its native language, the language of feeling. Now, here's a trick that combines all the others. Assume your wish is already fulfilled, and maintain that assumption until it hardens into fact. Your subconscious mind is constantly scanning your assumptions about yourself and your world, and it works tirelessly to create experiences that confirm these assumptions. If you assume you're unlucky, it will find evidence of bad luck. If you assume you're blessed, it will find evidence of blessings. The trick is to consciously plant a new assumption in your subconscious mind, and then persist in that assumption regardless of what your senses report or what your circumstances suggest. A man came to me who was drowning in debt. He owed over $200,000 and saw no way out. I assume I'll be in debt forever, he said. That's just my reality. And as long as you assume that, I replied, your subconscious mind will ensure it remains your reality. But what if you assumed something different? What if you assumed you were debt-free and financially secure? How can I assume something that contradicts all evidence? He asked. By understanding that your assumptions create your evidence, not the other way around, I explained. Your current debt is evidence of your past assumptions about money and yourself. If you change your assumptions, you change the evidence your subconscious mind creates. I taught him to live in the assumption of being debt-free. Every time he thought about money, he would assume abundant supply. Every time he paid a bill, he would assume he had more than enough. Every time he checked his bank balance, he would assume financial security, regardless of what the numbers showed. This felt unnatural at first, almost dishonest. But I explained that he wasn't denying his current circumstances. He was simply choosing which assumption his subconscious mind would work from. Would it work from the assumption of eternal debt, creating more debt, or would it work from the assumption of financial freedom, creating paths to freedom? Within 18 months, through a series of opportunities and solutions he could never have consciously planned, he was completely debt-free with money and savings. His subconscious mind had been tricked into creating financial freedom by the persistent assumption that freedom was already his. The next trick is this. Act as if. Your subconscious mind takes its cues not just from what you think and feel, but from how you behave. When you act as if your desire is already fulfilled, you send powerful signals to your subconscious that bypass conscious resistance. This doesn't mean pretending in a way that's delusional or irresponsible. It means adopting the natural behaviors, attitudes, and responses of someone who already has what you desire. A woman came to me who desperately wanted to find love, but had been single for many years. I tried everything, she said. Social events, asking friends to set me up. Nothing works. I observed her for a few minutes and then said, you carry yourself like someone who is lonely and seeking. Your energy is reaching outward, grasping, needing. This is the energy of lack, and it repels what you desire. But I am lonely, she said. How can I pretend I'm not? I'm not asking you to pretend, I replied. I'm asking you to act as if you are already deeply loved. How would you carry yourself if you were in a loving relationship? How would you speak? How would you move through the world? I taught her to act as if she were already loved, to dress for herself as someone who felt cherished, to speak to herself with kindness as someone who was valued, to move through her days with the quiet confidence of someone who knew they were beloved. This wasn't pretending, this was tricking her subconscious mind into accepting a new identity. And when her subconscious accepted this identity of being a loved woman, it began to create circumstances that matched this identity. Within months, she met a man who was drawn to her confidence and self-assurance. Their relationship developed naturally because she was no longer radiating the desperate energy of lack. She had tricked her subconscious mind by acting as if her desire was already fulfilled, and her subconscious had made it so. Now the master trick is persistent assumption. All of these tricks are powerful, but they all depend on one master principle, persistence. Your subconscious mind is impressed not by occasional thoughts or fleeting feelings, but by persistent assumptions and consistent impressions. Think of your subconscious mind as a piece of clay. A single touch leaves barely a mark, but repeated pressure in the same spot creates a lasting impression. Your job is to persistently impress upon your subconscious mind the reality you wish to experience until that impression becomes permanent. Most people fail at manifestation, not because the principles don't work, but because they give up too soon. They try to trick their subconscious mind for a day, a week, maybe a month. But when they don't see immediate results, they abandon the new assumption and return to their old patterns of thought. But the subconscious mind is like a garden. Seeds planted today don't become visible plants tomorrow. There's an invisible period of growth happening beneath the surface. If you dig up the seeds every few days to check if they're growing, you'll prevent them from ever becoming plants. A young man came to me who wanted to become a successful writer. He had been working on his craft for years, but had received nothing but rejections. "Maybe I'm just not good enough," he said. "You've been impressing your subconscious mind with the assumption that you're not good enough," I replied. "Every rejection you've accepted as evidence of your inadequacy has deepened that impression. You must now persistently impress upon your subconscious a new assumption that you are a successful, published writer." So I taught him to maintain this assumption consistently, regardless of continued rejections. Every morning he would assume the feeling of being a successful writer. Every evening he would remember his success as though it had already happened. Every time he wrote, he would write from the consciousness of someone whose work was valued and sought after. For 8 months, nothing changed in his external circumstances. He still received rejections. His conscious mind repeatedly suggested he was delusional, but he persisted in his assumption. Then suddenly, everything shifted. An editor who had previously rejected him reached out with interest in a different piece. That led to a publishing deal. Within a year, his book was successful, and he was receiving offers for more work. The trick had worked because he had persisted. His subconscious mind, after months of consistent impression, had finally accepted his new assumption as fact and created circumstances to match it. Let me leave you with this final understanding. You're not really tricking your subconscious mind in any deceptive sense. You're simply learning to communicate with it in its own language, bypassing the interference of the critical conscious mind. Your subconscious mind is not your enemy. It's your faithful servant, working every moment to create experiences that match your dominant assumptions and feelings. The problem is that most people have programmed this servant with limiting beliefs, fearful expectations, and negative self-concepts. When you learn to trick your subconscious mind, what you're really doing is deprogramming the old limitations and programming new possibilities. You're teaching this faithful servant to work for your desires rather than against them. So remember these tricks. Use the drowsy state to plant new impressions when conscious resistance is low. Imagine from your desire rather than of your desire to claim it as your reality. Revise past failures in imagination to change the patterns creating your future. Generate the feeling of the wish fulfilled to speak the subconscious mind's native language. Maintain the assumption of your desire being fulfilled regardless of current evidence. Act as if your desire is already fulfilled to send behavioral signals to your subconscious. And persist in these practices until your new assumptions harden into fact. Your subconscious mind is the most powerful creative force in your life. It's been creating your experiences faithfully according to your assumptions, both conscious and unconscious. Now you have the knowledge to direct it consciously, deliberately, and powerfully. You don't need to convince your conscious mind that these techniques will work. Your conscious mind will doubt, question, and resist. But your subconscious mind will respond faithfully to whatever you persistently impress upon it with feeling and conviction. So tonight, as you drift off to sleep, use that precious drowsy state to plant the seeds of your desires. Imagine from the end of your wish fulfilled. Generate the feeling of having what you desire. Assume it is already yours. And then persist in this assumption, day after day, night after night, until your faithful subconscious servant has no choice but to create in your outer world what you have consistently impressed upon your inner world. Your subconscious mind is waiting to be directed. It's ready to serve your highest good. You now know the tricks to communicate with it effectively. Use them well, use them faithfully, and watch as your entire life transforms to match the new impressions you've planted in the fertile garden of your subconscious mind. Thank you, and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and you are the operant power in your world. I will see you in the next video. My friend, listen closely. The tide is turning. What seemed still, what looked uncertain, what felt delayed, is quietly being rearranged behind the curtain of your life. God is about to shift everything in your favor. So for so long you may have felt like life was holding you back, like the doors refused to open, like the answers were always one step away. But the truth is, the delay was never denial. The waiting was preparation. The silence was the sacred pause before the sound of victory. You see, the real transformation does not begin when the outer changes. It begins when you shift within. Every event, every turn, every face that appears in your story is an echo of what you have already accepted in consciousness. And now, as you begin to dwell in the feeling of favor, everything around you must align to that vibration. This is not wishful thinking. It is divine law. As you assume that everything is working together for your good, the universe bends itself to that belief. What was once closed must open. What was once lost must return. What was once dark must reveal the hidden light. Right now, in the unseen, there is a reordering taking place. Situations that looked impossible are quietly being rewritten. People who overlooked you are about to remember your name. Paths that vanished are being rebuilt beneath your feet. You are entering a divine rearrangement where what was once against you begins to serve your destiny. But here's the key. You must stay faithful to the unseen. Do not measure progress by sight. Do not let appearances deceive you. The shift always begins invisibly. Just as a seed breaks in the dark before it ever touches the sunlight, your miracle is forming beneath the surface right now. So, hold the feeling of favor. Walk as though everything has already turned. Speak as if the breakthrough has already occurred. Because the moment you embody it, the outer must mirror it. What you call waiting is really God's perfect timing unfolding. What you call obstacle is divine alignment in disguise. And what you call loss is simply the clearing away of what can no longer contain your blessing. Your faith has summoned this shift. Your persistence has unlocked this season. God has seen your endurance, and now He is turning everything in your favor. Not partially, not halfway, but completely, beautifully, undeniably. So stand tall. Rest in certainty, rejoice before you see it, because it's already done in the unseen. Your time has come. Your favor is here, and God is about to shift everything, absolutely everything, in your favor. The unseen realm precedes the seen. Everything shifts first in consciousness. Before anything takes form in your external world, it must first exist as an invisible pattern within you. Every condition, every event, every circumstance that you experience in life is the result of an inner movement that occurred long before the evidence appeared. Nothing happens by accident. What you call reality is only the mirror reflecting what you have accepted as true within yourself. The world around you is not creating your state of being. Your state of being is creating the world around you. This is the hidden secret behind every transformation, the understanding that the cause is not out there, but in here. The unseen realm of thought, feeling, imagination, and belief is the birthplace of all that becomes visible. When you understand this, you stop struggling to fix the outer and begin to master the inner. You stop chasing change and start embodying it. You realize that life is not reacting to what you do, it is responding to what you are. Consciousness is the womb of creation. Everything that has ever existed, everything that will ever exist, begins as a vibration in awareness. Your imagination is not a fantasy, it is a creative force. When you hold a thought long enough, when you saturate it with emotion and conviction, it crystallizes into form. The outer world must then rearrange itself to reflect that inner conviction. This is why it is said that faith is the substance of things hoped for, because faith shapes substance. Faith is not hoping something might happen, it is knowing it already has in the unseen. Most people live in reverse. They look at their current circumstances, believe what they see, and then allow those appearances to dictate their inner state. If things go well, they feel confident. If things look bleak, they feel defeated. But the wise understand that appearances are nothing but the shadow of yesterday's consciousness. What you see today is the harvest of what you once believed. If you wish to change tomorrow, you must sow a new belief today. When you assume the feeling of your desired state, not in imagination alone, but in genuine inner conviction, the unseen begins to stir. Energy moves. People, opportunities, and events start to align themselves in ways your mind could never plan. The shift is invisible at first, but undeniable when it arrives. You begin to meet the right person at the right time. A closed door suddenly opens. A delay reveals itself as divine timing. The unseen realm organizes itself according to the picture you hold within. This is why inner work is the highest work. Meditation, prayer, visualization, they are not passive acts. They are the sacred tools that reshape the unseen mold of your life. Every time you lift your consciousness above fear, doubt, or limitation, you alter the pattern that life must express through you. You are not waiting for change, you are becoming it. When you understand that everything shifts first in consciousness, you stop asking, when will it happen, and start affirming it is already done. You no longer beg for blessings, you embody them. You no longer chase miracles, you live from the awareness that you are already surrounded by them. The unseen is not distant or delayed. It is right here, forming your next moment, waiting for your recognition. Once you accept this truth, you discover the real power of creation. To think, to feel, to believe, and to know that all things begin and end within you. Your inner assumption is the seed of your outer transformation. Everything you experience in life grows out of what you have accepted as true within yourself. Every result, every circumstance, every relationship is a reflection of your dominant assumption, the quiet conviction that lives beneath your words and actions. You may speak positively, you may hope for better things, but life responds not to your words or wishes, It responds to your assumption. What you assume about yourself, about others, and about life itself becomes the invisible foundation upon which your world is built. Assumption is not mere thinking, it is feeling. It is that deep inner knowing that settles quietly in your heart and declares, "This is who I am. This is what my life is." When that feeling takes root, it grows automatically, for the outer world is only a field waiting for the seed of your assumption to be planted. You do not need to force it, strive for it, or chase it. Just as a seed naturally grows when placed in fertile soil, your assumptions naturally unfold when they are nourished by belief and emotion. If you want to transform your life, you must begin by transforming what you assume to be true. You cannot hold within yourself the belief that you are unworthy and expect life to treat you as valuable. You cannot assume lack and expect abundance. You cannot assume rejection and expect acceptance. The outer world will always match the vibration of your inner conviction. It mirrors you with perfect precision, not to punish you, but to reveal you, to show you where your consciousness is planted. Most people attempt to change their lives by working only in the outer field. They change jobs, relationships, or locations, believing that the shift in circumstance will bring peace. Yet sooner or later, the same patterns reappear, because the inner seed was never changed. The old assumptions of fear, limitation, or doubt continue to bear the same fruit. True transformation begins only when you dare to assume something new about yourself. To assume is to claim your desired state as already real. It is to walk in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, to think and act from the end rather than toward it. When you assume, "I am prosperous," even before evidence appears, you invite life to rearrange itself to match that vibration. When you assume, "I am loved," you radiate an energy that draws love toward you. When you assume, "I am guided," you begin to notice signs, opportunities, and synchronicities that confirm it. Life bends to the shape of your inner certainty. This is not imagination for its own sake. It is creation through consciousness. Your assumption does not wait for proof, it produces proof. It does not beg for change, it births it. The unseen power of your inner state directs every movement in the outer. When you truly grasp this, you stop trying to control people or conditions. You no longer fight circumstances or chase validation. Instead, you tend to your inner garden. You plant thoughts of abundance, worth, peace, and divine favor. You water them with gratitude and faith. And as surely as morning follows night, those inner assumptions bloom into visible experiences. Your world is not happening to you, it is growing from you. The seed of every transformation lies within your assumption. When you choose to assume the best, life has no choice but to mirror that belief. So, nurture the seed wisely, for whatever you assume yourself to be, you will inevitably become. What once worked against you is now being rearranged to serve you. Life has a mysterious intelligence that uses even your obstacles as instruments for your transformation. What you once saw as a setback was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to prepare you. Every delay, every disappointment carried a hidden purpose, to reposition you for something greater. Nothing in your story was wasted, and nothing was ever random. The very forces that seemed to oppose you were, in truth, shaping you for the season you are now entering. Some said, when you look back, you can trace moments that felt like endings but were actually beginnings in disguise. The rejection that broke your heart taught you to find strength within yourself. The failure that humbled you refined your character. The detour that confused you led you to a path you never would have discovered otherwise. The pain was never punishment, it was preparation. Life was rearranging itself, aligning circumstances and orchestrating divine timing, even when you couldn't see it. You see, nothing in your life moves without purpose. The universe is not chaotic, it is precise. Every experience, pleasant or painful, is part of a larger tapestry being woven by unseen hands. When you begin to trust this truth, you stop resenting the past and start recognizing its wisdom. You realize that what once worked against you is now being turned in your favor. That difficult person, that season of lack, that moment of failure, all of it was molding you into someone capable of receiving the blessings you once prayed for. The rearrangement often begins invisibly. It happens in the unseen before it manifests in the seen. You may not feel the shift at first, but the alignment is taking place. Relationships that once drained you fall away. Opportunities that once slipped through your fingers begin to return. The same doors that were closed now open without effort. The difference is not luck, it is consciousness. You have changed within, and therefore everything connected to you must rearrange itself accordingly. The forces that opposed you were never against you. They were instruments of your evolution. When you embrace this perspective, resentment dissolves into gratitude. You no longer curse the storm. You thank it for revealing your strength. You no longer fear the unknown. You trust that it is leading you somewhere greater. What once looked like loss becomes a doorway to increase. What once looked like delay becomes divine timing. What once looked like chaos becomes perfect order. The key is to stop fighting what has already happened and begin to align with what is unfolding now. The past does not define you, it refines you. The struggle was never a signal of defeat, it was the turning point of destiny. You are being repositioned by grace. Every failure, every test, was the soil from which your new season would grow. So, lift your head, release the bitterness, stop rehearsing what went wrong, and start expecting the rearrangement that is already in motion. The same circumstances that once seemed to block you are now being used to build you. The same path that once felt heavy will soon carry you into ease. The same people who overlooked you will watch the hand of favor raise you. Nothing has been wasted. What once worked against you is now by divine design working for you, turning every shadow into light, every burden into blessing, every setback into setup. The shift has begun. The divine is not delaying, it is aligning everything for your highest good. What you call waiting is not inactivity, it is sacred timing, unfolding in perfect harmony with your destiny. Life is not withholding your blessings, it is preparing the path, the people, and the conditions so that when the moment arrives, nothing will be missing and nothing will be out of place. What feels like delay is often divine protection. What feels like silence is often preparation. The universe is not slow, it is precise. Many lose faith in the waiting. They interpret the pause as rejection, the silence as abandonment, yet the divine never denies, it only refines. The time between your desire and its manifestation is not empty. It is full of invisible activity. Circumstances are being rearranged. Hearts are being softened. Doors are being built, not merely opened. You may not see it yet, but beneath the surface, every thread is being woven together in perfect order. Imagine a symphony being composed. Each instrument must enter at the right moment, each note must find its place. If one part rushes ahead, the harmony collapses. So too in your life, there is an order, a rhythm, a divine timing that ensures every blessing arrives when you are ready to hold it. The waiting is not punishment, it is orchestration. It is life aligning the right opportunities, preparing you inwardly to sustain what you've prayed for outward. Sometimes, if the blessing arrived too soon, you wouldn't recognize it. You might mishandle it, doubt it, or lose it because your consciousness was not yet expanded to receive it. The divine delay is really divine mercy, a space for you to grow into the version of yourself who can fully embody what you've asked for. You are not being withheld from, you are being matured for. During this time, your task is not to push but to trust, to surrender the need to control the timing and instead align with the energy of faith. Faith does not ask, when will it happen? Faith declares it's already happening. When you rest in this knowing, impatience turns into peace. You stop trying to force outcomes and begin to live in harmony with divine flow. You realize that the universe is never late, it is always exact. Look back at your life. Every time you thought something was delayed, didn't it eventually make sense? Didn't the thing you once cried over lead to something better? Something more fitting for your soul's evolution? The same is true now. The delay you feel is the divine rearranging the universe in your favor. People are being moved, situations are being shifted. What seems still is not stagnant, it's being aligned. So instead of asking, why is it taking so long, begin to say, thank you for aligning everything perfectly. Gratitude opens the heart to divine timing. It releases resistance and allows the flow of grace to carry you forward. The divine does not operate on human schedules. It operates on divine order. Every delay is alignment. Every pause is purpose. Every detour is direction. Trust that what is yours is already moving toward you, and when the moment is right, not early, not late, it will arrive effortlessly, beautifully, undeniably. The divine is not delaying. It is aligning everything, absolutely everything, for your highest good. When you believe it's already done, life conspires to prove you right. The universe mirrors your certainty. The moment you shift from hoping to knowing, from wishing to assuming, you activate a force far greater than effort. You align with the creative law that governs all manifestation. Belief is not a passive state of mind. It is a living energy that instructs reality how to move. When you embody the feeling that your desire is already fulfilled, everything around you begins to rearrange itself to make that inner conviction visible. Most people live in a constant state of waiting, waiting for signs, waiting for proof, waiting for permission to believe. Yet the secret is that belief itself is the cause, and the proof is always the effect. You are not meant to wait until something happens before you believe it. You are meant to believe it first so that it can happen. The world does not respond to your longing, it responds to your assumption. Life listens not to what you say, but to what you know to be true in the quiet depths of your being. When you decide within yourself that something is already done, You send a clear signal to the universe. That inner certainty calls forth people, opportunities, and circumstances that align with your state of belief. You begin to see coincidences, synchronicities, and doors opening in perfect timing, not because life suddenly favors you, but because you are finally vibrating in harmony with what you desire. The outer must follow the inner. It has no choice. Belief is the creative command of consciousness. It does not beg, it does not chase, it declares. The moment you inwardly claim it is done, you cease to struggle. You no longer ask, how will it happen or when will it happen? Because you already know it's unfolding in divine order. That knowing creates peace, and peace is the soil where miracles grow. When you truly believe, your energy becomes magnetic. You attract instead of pursue. You rest instead of resist. You live from fulfillment rather than from lack. This is why faith is described as the evidence of things not seen. It is the invisible certainty that gives birth to visible form. Every great manifestation begins with an inner conviction that defies logic. The seed of belief germinates in silence, nourished by feeling and unwavering trust, until one day it breaks through the surface of experience. People will call it coincidence or luck, but you will know it was the inevitable result of your inner knowing. To believe it's already done is to step out of time and into creation. You stop living from the perspective of someday and start living from now. You speak as though it's done. You act as though it's done. You feel gratitude before you see results, because on the level of consciousness, it is done. That feeling of completion is what draws completion into form. So stop waiting for permission to believe. Stop doubting the unseen. What you desire is already prepared for you in the invisible. The moment you believe it is yours, the universe conspires to prove you right. Everything begins to move in your favor. The right ideas, the right people, the right timing. Believe first, and let life echo your faith. For belief is not merely the key to manifestation, it is the very hand that turns the lock. Your faith is the force that moves the unseen hand of destiny. Faith is not mere hope, nor is it blind optimism. It is the quiet power that commands reality to respond. It is the invisible bridge between the world of thought and the world of form. When you possess faith, you do not beg life to change. You know it must. You do not question whether the path will open. You walk as if it already has. Faith is the law of creation wrapped in trust. The awareness that what you hold as true in the unseen must reveal itself in the seen. Everything that has ever come into being was first born through faith. Before any invention, healing, success, or transformation, someone believed in it before they could see it. That belief became a vibrational blueprint that life followed. The unseen hand of destiny responds not to fear, not to doubt, but to certainty. When you believe deeply and unwaveringly that something is already yours, unseen forces begin to organize themselves around your conviction. Doors open. Opportunities appear. People are drawn to you. It looks like coincidence, but it is faith in motion. Faith moves mountains, not because the mountain changes, but because you rise to a higher state of consciousness where the obstacle no longer exists. It lifts you out of limitation into alignment with divine power. You cannot possess faith and still see yourself as powerless. Faith transforms perception, And when perception changes, so does destiny. The unseen hand of life moves according to your inner belief about what is possible. Many try to live by sight, allowing appearances to dictate their state of mind. They believe when things look good and doubt when they don't. But faith asks you to believe before you see. It asks you to walk into the unknown with a steady heart, trusting that what is unseen will support you. The moment you believe, even against logic, the laws of the universe begin to bend in your favor. Life rearranges itself to match your inner state. The unseen hand moves not at random, but at the command of your conviction. Faith does not eliminate challenges, it transforms them into stepping stones. It does not remove storms, it teaches you to walk on water. When your faith becomes greater than your fear, your world begins to shift. The delays that once frustrated you start to make sense. The rejections that once hurt you reveal themselves as redirections. Every seeming setback becomes evidence that something greater is being arranged. To live by faith is to cooperate with the unseen intelligence that guides all things. It is to know that every event, every moment, is conspiring to fulfill a higher plan. Faith does not wait for evidence, it creates it. It does not ask for guarantees, it becomes the guarantee. So hold your faith like a flame that cannot be extinguished by circumstance. Protect it, nurture it, speak from it, act through it. For when faith lives in you, destiny cannot resist you. The unseen hand moves in response to your belief, shaping life to mirror your trust. The stronger your faith, the faster the unseen aligns. The power you seek is not outside of you, it is within, waiting for one simple command. Believe. Everything you've walked through, every challenge, every delay, every unseen moment, it has all been leading you here. The shift has already begun. Life is turning in your favor. The unseen is moving, rearranging, aligning every piece to fulfill what your heart has long known to be true. You are no longer striving, you are stepping into what has already been prepared for you. Remember, everything begins in consciousness. Your assumption is the seed, your belief is the soil, your faith is the sunlight that brings it to life. What once worked against you now works for you. The divine is not delaying, it is aligning. And as you believe that it's already done, life itself will rise to meet your conviction. So walk forward with peace, speak with assurance, live as if it's already yours, because it is. You are entering a season where your faith becomes sight, your waiting becomes fulfillment, and your heart's desires unfold effortlessly. Understand. Thank you for listening. May this message remind you that you are divinely guided, deeply favored, and perfectly positioned. The shift is here, and it is all moving in your favor. My friends, I want to tell you something tonight that may disturb you at first, but will set you free if you truly understand it. Ignore the facts. Yes, you heard me correctly. Ignore the facts. Dismiss them. Pay them no attention whatsoever. Now, before you think I've lost my mind, let me explain what I mean by this seemingly absurd statement. The facts are screaming at you right now, aren't they? Your bank account shows a certain number or lack of numbers. Your body appears in a particular condition. Your relationships exist in a specific state. The world presents itself to you with what seems like undeniable evidence. And every authority figure you've ever known, your parents, your teachers, society itself has trained you to respect facts, to bow down to facts, to accept facts as the ultimate reality. But I'm here to tell you tonight, facts are the greatest liars you will ever meet. You see, facts are nothing more than the hardened assumptions of your past. They are yesterday's thoughts made visible. They are the fruit of seeds you planted in consciousness, weeks, months, or even years ago. Seeds you may not even remember planting. When you look at a fact, you are not looking at reality. You are looking at a shadow. You are looking at the end result of an old state of consciousness that you once occupied. And here is what you must understand. A fact has no power except the power you give it by continuing to assume it must remain a fact. What you see before you at this very moment is nothing more than the echo of past thoughts, old beliefs, and yesterday's assumptions. It is a photograph of a moment long gone, a snapshot of a mind you no longer have to live with. The greatest error you can make is to look at this picture and call it truth. The truth is not what is before your eyes. The truth is what you hold in the quiet of your imagination. The truth is the state you dare to inhabit, the reality you choose to claim as your own. The world will show you the reflection of your inner state, but only after a delay. So if you want tomorrow to look different, you must stop letting today dictate how you feel. Ignore the facts. They will try to speak loudly. They will wave their hands and demand your attention. They will tell you what's real, what's possible, and what's likely. The doctor will show you test results. The banker will show you numbers. People will show you their doubt. But facts are poor prophets. They only know the past. You are the creator of the future. So just keep assuming. Assume that the desire is already fulfilled. Walk through your days as the one who has already received it. When you wake up in the morning, feel the satisfaction of it. When you go to bed at night, rest in the comfort of it. Let your assumption be more real to you than any circumstance. At first, your senses will argue. They will show you a bank account you don't like, a relationship you don't yet have, a body you wish were different, a situation that appears unchangeable. Smile at these things, for they are only the fading remnants of a life you have outgrown. Do not fight them. Do not fear them. Just ignore them. Then keep living in the end. Reality is just a reflection. What stands before you in this moment is not a measure of your worth, your potential, or your destiny. It is simply a reflection of what you once believed, once felt, once assumed about yourself and the world. Every circumstance you see right now is the result of old mental patterns, thoughts that have already done their work. It is the past wearing the costume of the present. And just like the shadow on the ground lags behind the person who casts it, your current reality lags behind your inner state. You must understand, present conditions are not telling you who you are, but who you were. They are echoes, delayed responses, fragments of an old script you've already outgrown. And if you allow yourself to judge your future based on this shadow, you will chain yourself to a cycle that repeats endlessly. This is why it is so vital to stop reacting to what is and start creating from what will be. Your outer world is always one step behind your inner world. By the time you can see, hear, or touch a thing, it has already been set in motion by an earlier state of mind. This means that whatever displeases you right now is not your enemy. It is simply outdated. Like an old photograph, it no longer represents your living truth. The danger comes when you forget this and begin to emotionally engage with what you dislike. The moment you give it your attention, your fear, or your frustration, you begin planting the seeds to experience more of it. The wise creator does not take present circumstances as an instruction for how to feel. They know that feelings are the blueprint of tomorrow. So they refuse to let the current picture dictate their mood. Instead, they withdraw their focus from the unwanted and place it firmly on the unseen vision they have chosen. They treat the present like a letter that was mailed weeks ago. It has already been written. They know that if they want a different letter tomorrow, they must write something new today. When you understand this, life changes. You no longer panic when something unwanted appears, because you know it is already on its way out. You no longer rush to fix the outer, because you know the inner has already taken care of it. You stop begging circumstances to change, and instead tend to the only thing that truly matters, your state of being. This is the power of detachment from the old. You don't fight it, you don't hate it, you simply recognize that it's not current, not alive, not defining you anymore. You thank it for its message. It is here to show you where you once stood. And then you move on. You live mentally from the place you wish to be, and you hold to it with quiet persistence. In time, the old fades away entirely, and the world catches up to the self you have already become. Then you'll see with your own eyes. Reality was never telling you the truth. It was only telling you the past. Everything begins in the unseen. Before any event unfolds, before any change is witnessed, before any dream becomes tangible, it exists in the quiet realm of thought and belief. The invisible always comes first. Your mind is the soil, and every assumption you hold is a seed planted deep within it. Whether you plant seeds of fear or seeds of faith, they will take root. Whether you nurture visions of lack or visions of abundance, they will grow. The world you walk through is nothing more than the harvest of what you have been growing inside. The mistake most people make is to judge life only by what they can see. They forget that what is visible is already the end of a process, not the beginning. The tree is not born when you notice it. It began long ago as a seed beneath the surface. Likewise, the success, the love, the health, the wealth you desire will not appear out of nowhere. It is born the moment you assume it is already yours, the moment you feel the reality of it in your inner world. This is why you must be intentional with the seeds you plant. Every thought charged with emotion, every assumption you accept as truth is dropped into the fertile soil of your subconscious. And once it's planted, it grows. Whether you notice it or not, if you spend your days replaying fears, expecting disappointment, or believing in limitations, you are watering weeds. These weeds do not ask your permission to grow. They thrive in the attention you give them. But you have the choice to plant something different. You can choose to assume that your desire is already a reality. You can choose to hold that assumption as if it were sacred, tending to it daily with your thoughts and feelings. When doubt appears, you refuse to feed it. When appearances contradict your vision, you remind yourself that they are simply the remnants of old seeds, and you let them pass without attention. It is not your job to dig up the seed every day to see if it's growing. In fact, doing so only delays the process. Your task is to water it with belief, to keep the soil warm with the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and to protect it from the weeds of fear and frustration. The harvest will come in its own time. You cannot rush the unfolding any more than you can force a flower to bloom before it is ready. When you truly grasp this, you stop living as a victim of circumstances. You stop being fooled by the outer world because you know the invisible comes first. The moment you claim it within, the seed is planted. The harvest is inevitable. So stop tending to weeds. Stop feeding the unwanted with your attention. Instead, water your seed with faith. Nurture it with gratitude. And trust that what you cannot yet see is already alive beneath the surface, growing into the life you have chosen. The moment you decide what you want, your task is not to wait for proof. It is to live from the end, as if the desire were already fulfilled. The greatest mistake is to stand still, scanning the world for signs, measuring progress by outer changes. This keeps you in a state of waiting, and waiting only creates more waiting. Instead, you must step into the role now, mentally and emotionally embodying the person who already has the thing you desire. You cannot think of yourself as poor and expect to live in wealth. You cannot see yourself as unloved and expect to be cherished. You cannot carry the feeling of someday and expect the gift to arrive today. What you hold in your mind and heart becomes your reality. Not what you wish for in the distance, but what you claim in the present. When you assume it's done, you stop approaching your desire as a request and start approaching it as a fact. This is not about pretending or forcing yourself to believe through sheer willpower. It is about entering into a state of being where you naturally feel the truth of your assumption. You do this by asking yourself, if I already had it, how would I think? How would I walk? How would I speak to others? How would I treat myself? Then you live according to those answers, even if your senses try to convince you otherwise. At first this may feel strange, because your outer reality will still carry the residue of the old state. But do not be discouraged. Outer conditions are slow to catch up. They are the shadow, not the substance. The substance is the inner state you hold unwaveringly. Your mind is the director. The world is the stage. The moment you accept the role inwardly, the scene begins to change outwardly. Do not wait for circumstances to give you permission to feel successful, happy, loved, or abundant. Decide to feel it now. When you live from that inner certainty, the world will mirror it back to you in ways you could never predict. Opportunities will arise. People will respond differently. And events will arrange themselves in your favor. Not because you forced them, but because you aligned with the version of you who already lives in that reality. The key is persistence. You cannot step into the role for an hour and then return to doubt for the rest of the day. Hold the state as naturally as you hold your own name. Carry it in your posture, your words, and your inner dialogue. If you fall into old patterns, gently return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. When you assume as if it's done, you collapse the gap between desire and experience. You are no longer someone trying to get there. You are someone who is already there in consciousness. And the world has no choice but to follow. The evidence will appear, but only after you've stopped looking for it and started living from it. Silence the senses. There will always be voices, some from others, some from within, that try to tell you what is possible and what is not. They will measure your potential by your current situation, by your past failures, or by their own limited vision. If you allow these voices to dictate your thinking, you'll find yourself trapped in the same reality they believe in. The truth is, those outer opinions and visible circumstances are powerless unless you give them power through your attention and acceptance. The outer voice often comes disguised as common sense, practical advice, or just being realistic. But what it is really doing is binding you to the known and the visible, keeping you from stepping into the unseen, where your desire is already alive. If you want to create something new, you must learn to silence these outer voices. You do not silence them by arguing or convincing others to agree with you. You silence them by withdrawing your mental and emotional energy from their words. Your senses too will try to persuade you. They will present you with facts, numbers, and images that seem immovable. They will whisper, "Look, nothing has changed. This is your reality." But your senses are reporters of the past, not prophets of the future. They can only confirm what has already been created through your previous states of mind. If what you see and hear contradicts your desire, remind yourself that it is only the fading echo of old beliefs. This is why inner discipline is so important. You must become the guardian of your own mind. When doubt tries to speak, you gently turn your attention back to the vision you've chosen. When fear presents its case, you refuse to sit in its courtroom. When people insist that you are foolish for believing in what they cannot see, you silently bless them and return to your inner knowing. The power to manifest is not found in convincing the world to support your dream. It is found in convincing yourself so completely that the world has no choice but to rearrange itself accordingly. This is why you must not let the noise of others or the evidence of your senses shake your conviction. Every moment you allow yourself to be swayed by the outer world, you water the seeds of doubt. But every moment you hold fast to your chosen assumption, you strengthen the roots of your new reality. There will be times when the silence feels lonely, when it seems easier to agree with the loudest voice or to surrender to the facts. But remember, every great change begins in solitude, in the quiet place where belief is nurtured without interference. So guard that place. Protect it. Keep it free from the weeds of doubt and fear. Ignore the doubters. Ignore the circumstances. Ignore even the reports of your own senses if they disagree with your desire. The only voice that matters is the one within you that says, "It is done." Persist through contradiction. Persistence is the quiet, unwavering decision to hold to your chosen assumption, regardless of what the world shows you. It is the understanding that the outer world is slow to reflect inner change, and that during this delay, the old reality may still appear strong, solid, and unshakable. Many people abandon their vision in this waiting period, thinking nothing is happening, when in truth everything is already in motion beneath the surface. The old reality is like a shadow. It lingers for a while even after the light has shifted. Just because you cannot yet see the new conditions does not mean they are not on their way. In fact, the very moment you have assumed your desire as true, the process of creation begins. But if you look for constant proof, you pull yourself out of the state that makes fulfillment inevitable. Proof is the harvest, Assumption is the seed. The seed does not need you to keep digging it up. It needs you to trust. It will grow. Persistence means living in your chosen reality even when the evidence screams otherwise. It means refusing to let the temporary appearance of the old state dictate how you feel or what you believe. This is not stubbornness for its own sake. It is loyalty to the vision you have chosen. When the outer contradicts you, you do not argue with it. You simply ignore it and return to the inner world where the desire is already fulfilled. There will be times when nothing seems to be moving. You may feel like you are standing still while your vision remains far away. In those moments, remember that movement is happening in ways you cannot yet perceive. The world of form is rearranging itself. People and events are aligning, and unseen doors are preparing to open. Your only job is to keep the inner state alive, to remain the person who already has what they desire, even in the absence of proof. Persistence is also a test of faith, not faith in luck or chance, but faith in the law, that the inner creates the outer. If you know this to be true, there is no reason to give in to impatience or doubt. Time becomes irrelevant, because the outcome is certain. The only variable is whether you will hold your assumption long enough for it to solidify into fact. When you persist, you become unshakable. You no longer chase proof, because you understand it must appear. You stop measuring your progress by what is visible, and start measuring it by your ability to remain in the state you have chosen. And then one day the world bends to your assumption so naturally that it feels as if it could never have been any other way. The old reality fades like a dream, and the new one stands before you, not because you demanded proof, but because you persisted until proof had no choice but to arrive. In the end, the power to transform your life lies not in reacting to what you see, but in mastering what you assume. Reality as it stands today is nothing more than the echo of past beliefs, a delayed reflection of states you no longer need to accept. The invisible comes first. Every change begins in the unseen realm of thought and feeling. By assuming as if your desire is already done, silencing the outer voices, living in the end daily, and persisting without the need for proof, you position yourself as the true creator of your experience. The world may resist at first. The illusion of the old may seem stubborn, but if you hold your assumption with faith and persistence, reality will bend. It always does. Your role is not to chase, beg, or plead. It is to choose, believe, and remain. The inner must be honored before the outer can reflect it. And the moment you live from your chosen state, the rest becomes inevitable. Stay loyal to your vision. Ignore what contradicts it, and trust that what you have claimed within is already yours. The world will catch up, so ignore the facts. Keep assuming, and watch as your assumption hardens into the most beautiful fact you've ever witnessed. Thank you and good evening. This is Best of Lectures. I will see you in the next video. There are battles you cannot see, struggles that go deeper than what any eye could witness. Yet in the invisible, a victory has already been declared in your name. You are not walking through this season alone. Every step you take, the divine is stepping with you. Every breath you breathe, the divine breath is breathing through you. The outcome isn't uncertain, the result isn't questionable. The end has already been written, and victory is the only conclusion. Where you are right now is not where you will remain. The pressure you feel is a signal a transformation is underway. What appears as resistance is actually the universe reshaping circumstances so your blessing can arrive fully complete. God is aligning people, resources, opportunities, and miracles to show up right on time. Don't judge the story by the chapter you're currently reading. The author of your life has already written the triumph. Your current obstacles are not proof of defeat. They are proof of destiny. A great shift happens when you choose to see beyond what your senses report. You are meant to rise right here, right now, even in the middle of the struggle. When doubt tries to speak, silence it with the voice of assurance. It is already done. Because once you accept the victory within, the world must reshuffle itself. to match your inner acceptance. You may not see how things will work out, but you don't need to. The how is not your battle. That is where God fights for you. Your only part is to believe in the finished outcome. Hold the end result in your inner vision. Feel the joy of the answered prayer. Feel the relief of the breakthrough already yours. When you claim the end, all forces, visible and invisible, move to fulfill it. Don't give up, because the battle is hardest right before the breakthrough. Don't lose hope, because the darkness deepens right before the light breaks open. Behind the scenes, the victory has already been signed, sealed, and delivered. What you are waiting for is waiting for the right moment to appear in your reality. Stand firm, keep the vision alive, keep declaring the final result. Every battle you face is a testimony in the making. Every tear is watering a miracle. Every setback is positioning you for a greater comeback. Victory is not coming, it is here, stepping closer every day. Hold your head high. Walk in confidence. The God who started the blessing is finishing it. The God who promised is delivering. Your victory is unstoppable. Your breakthrough is inevitable. Your story is shifting into glory. Don't give up, because everything you've prayed for is already on its way. There is a realm beyond what your physical eyes can observe, a sacred territory where the unseen takes shape long before it becomes visible in your world. Every desire placed in your heart, every dream that refuses to leave your mind, every whisper of hope that surfaces even in your darkest moments, these are not random. They are evidence that something already exists for you in the invisible. The unseen realm is preparing your victory, crafting the path and aligning the perfect timing so that what is already true spiritually becomes undeniable physically. You are not meant to chase what you want. You are meant to align with what is already yours. When you understand that your victory exists right now, not in some distant future, you release the pressure, the fear, and the doubt that tries to convince you otherwise. You begin to walk with a calm certainty. You speak with authority. You think from the result, not toward it. Because once you know that the outcome is finished, all waiting becomes expectancy instead of anxiety. The unseen realm responds to the state you occupy. When you choose to feel victorious, even when everything looks against you, the external reality has no choice but to transform. What you accept within becomes what you experience without. A seed is planted below the surface long before the sprout appears. Yet no one questions whether the seed is working. In the same way, your blessing is working beneath the surface of your current challenges. You may not see movement, but the miracle is advancing. You may not hear progress, but the doors are unlocking. You may not feel change yet, but transformation is happening in silence. The delays you face are not pauses of abandonment. They are periods of divine preparation. The unseen is arranging the pieces, people, opportunities, resources, lessons, so that when the manifestation appears, it arrives complete. Sometimes the invisible victory is developing you, strengthening your faith, refining your inner identity so that you can hold what you asked for, without letting fear or doubt steal it from your hands. If you only look to the physical world for proof, you will become discouraged. But if you look inward, into the realm where imagination, faith, and belief operate, you will see that the victory is already yours. You can feel it. You can sense it. You can claim it. It is waiting for the moment you fully accept it as done. This is why you cannot give up. Surrender the need to see the entire path. Stand firm in the truth that what you desire is not being withheld from you, it is being completed for you. The unseen realm is not working against you, it is working for you, shaping every possibility to ensure that your blessing fits your life flawlessly. Walk forward knowing this. Your victory is not a future promise. It is a present reality preparing to reveal itself. Stay faithful. Stay expectant. Stay aligned. What you have asked for already exists, and soon you will see it with your own eyes. Every challenge you face carries a hidden purpose. It is not there to break you, but to build you. When life places a mountain before you, it is not a sign that you are weak. It is a confirmation that greatness is being activated within you. Challenges are spiritual invitations, signals that you are stepping into a new level of strength, faith, and personal evolution. The divine does not test you to see if you will fail. The divine tests you to show you that you are stronger than you ever believed. In the moments when you feel pressure rising, when circumstances seem too heavy to carry, something powerful is taking shape within you. Your endurance is expanding. Your courage is awakening. Your belief in yourself and in the unseen support around you is being anchored deeper. Without resistance, muscles cannot grow. Without adversity, power cannot be realized. Challenges introduce you to the version of yourself you were always meant to become, the one who stands taller, believes boldly, and knows their worth without hesitation. Divine intervention often arrives in the very places where you feel the most outmatched. When you reach the edge of your own strength, that is where a higher strength rises. When you have done all you can and still feel stuck, that is when the unseen forces begin to move. Problems create the space where miracles can appear. Without a need, there is no rescue. Without a conflict, there is no victory. The divine steps into the story not when everything makes sense, but when you continue to trust, even when nothing does. Many times, the challenge is not meant to change what is happening around you. It is meant to change what is happening within you. It teaches you perseverance, emotional mastery, inner clarity. It reveals your resilience and redefines what you believe is possible. You learn that you can survive storms, rise after falling, and keep your faith even in darkness. Every time you choose hope over fear, persistence over surrender, faith over doubt, you unlock a new level of your own power. What looks like a setback is actually a setup. It is preparing everything necessary for a breakthrough far greater than what you would have received without the struggle. Sometimes God allows you to face what seems impossible so you will witness what only the divine can do. The challenge strengthens your belief because you don't just talk about faith, you experience it. You don't just claim power, you embody it. When you look back later, you will see clearly the hardest parts of your journey were the most important. They pushed you into your destiny. They awakened your gifts. They connected you with purpose. They made you unstoppable. So do not fear your challenges. Do not run from them. Meet them, knowing that you are not facing them alone. Within every difficulty lies a miracle in progress. and a higher version of you emerging. The challenge is temporary, but the power you gain from it is eternal. Your imagination is the birthplace of every victory you will ever experience. The true battle is not fought in the physical world, it is fought within your mind, in the silent places where no one can see. Every thought you dwell upon, every image you entertain, every outcome you believe in or fear, these are the weapons that either defeat you or deliver you. The world outside of you is merely a mirror, reflecting the state you consistently hold inside. To change what you see around you, you must first transform what you accept within. When you imagine the worst, you enroll your mind in stories of defeat, and life bends in that direction. When you imagine the best, you command life to follow the path of your belief. Imagination is not daydreaming, it is creation. It is a spiritual blueprint that your reality must eventually match. You become the full architect of your experiences when you recognize that the images you allow to occupy your inner space are shaping your tomorrow. The battle begins with awareness. Are you rehearsing fear or feeding faith? Are you picturing obstacles or outcomes? Are you letting doubt narrate your future or allowing confidence to lead? What you return to internally is what you build externally. Every victory is won before it manifests. Every breakthrough is formed in the invisible. The moment you decide that you will not accept defeat inside, the world loses its power to defeat you outside. Life will try to distract you with appearances. Circumstances may attempt to convince you that hope is foolish. But appearances are only temporary. They are delayed reflections of your past beliefs. The future you desire is shaped by what you choose to think and feel now. If you hold a victorious picture of yourself, strong, successful, healed, thriving, then the world must rise to confirm that picture. The universe is compelled to follow the command of your dominant vision. When you imagine from the end result, feeling it complete, embracing its certainty, you shift into the identity of someone who already possesses the blessing. That shift is what moves mountains. That shift is what opens doors. That shift is what calls opportunities, resources, and miracles into your life. You are not wishing, you are creating. You are aligning with what is already yours in the unseen. Train your imagination to work for you, not against you. Guard it like the sacred battleground it is. When doubt enters, replace it with a vision of triumph. When fear appears, transform it into a picture of faith fulfilled. Do not allow the outer world to rewrite the truth you hold within, because the moment you win inside, the moment you feel the certainty of victory in your heart, the world must obey. It has no option but to rearrange itself to reflect what you have already claimed. You are equipped for this battle. You are powerful beyond measure. With every inner victory, you are bringing your breakthrough closer into sight. And soon, what you once imagined will stand before you as undeniable reality. Faith is a quiet certainty that lives deeper than emotion, stronger than circumstance, and louder than doubt. It is not a fragile wish or a desperate hope that something might happen. Faith is the unwavering knowing that the outcome you seek is already complete, already yours, long before your senses confirm it. Hope waits for proof. Faith celebrates the result before there is a sign. Hope looks forward to the blessing. Faith knows the blessing is already established in the unseen realm, simply waiting for its appointed moment to appear. When you operate from true faith, you stop asking if it will happen and start living as though it already has. You think from the end result. You speak from the fulfilled outcome. You feel the gratitude of a prayer already answered. There is no more negotiation with fear or wrestling with possibilities. You stand firmly in the truth that what you desire has been claimed and cannot be taken from you. Faith is not blind. It sees with a clearer vision than physical sight. It sees beyond obstacles, beyond delays, beyond the current state of things. It sees into the realm where everything you want is real and waiting to unfold. This knowing changes how you carry yourself. You walk differently. You think differently. You expect differently. Even when your environment shows lack, you feel abundance. Even when the door seems closed, you know another is opening. Even when people doubt, you remain anchored, because the outcome does not depend on them, it depends on your belief. The moment you decide the result is finished, the world begins rearranging itself to reflect your decision. The right opportunities rise, the right connections appear, the right timing unfolds. Faith sets the universe in motion because it is the highest form of agreement between you and the divine. When you claim the end, all forces, both seen and unseen, move to deliver it into your reality. Challenges may still come, but they do not weaken your conviction. Delays may occur, but they do not shake your certainty, because faith says, if I have it within, I will have it without. Faith does not panic in silence or feel abandoned in waiting. Faith understands that the manifestation is aligning perfectly, not late, not lacking, not lost. It is simply maturing into its full expression. This is why faith is powerful. It refuses to bow to appearances. It refuses to surrender to fear. It refuses to let temporary conditions define permanent truth. Faith holds completion in the heart long before it arrives in the world. And when you hold the completion long enough, the world must reflect it. So do not just hope for the blessing, own it. Do not just wish for the breakthrough, embody it. Act, speak, and feel like the result is already delivered. Because when your inner knowing becomes unshakable, the outer reality has no choice but to obey. The end is finished. The promise is secure. The victory belongs to you. Now, delays are one of the greatest misunderstandings in the journey of faith. When what you desire does not appear right away, the mind rushes to conclusions. Maybe it's not meant for me. Maybe I made a mistake. Maybe God isn't listening. But in truth, a delay is not a rejection. It is an alignment. It is the space where the unseen world organizes every detail so that when your manifestation arrives, it arrives complete, stable, and perfectly suited for your life. There are blessings too big to appear before you are ready to carry them. There are opportunities too meaningful to arrive before your character, your faith, and your identity have expanded enough to sustain them. The delay is a season of preparation, not only of the blessing, but of you. During the waiting, the universe is shaping you into the version of yourself who can handle what you ask for without fear, without sabotage, and without shrinking. In the delay, you learn the strength of patience. You practice the art of trust. You discover the depth of your belief when the evidence is invisible. You are stretched beyond the comfort of instant gratification into the maturity of knowing. If it is mine, then it is already written. You stop chasing outcomes and start aligning with them. You shift from wanting to having in your inner world, and that shift magnetizes the outer world to match. Cutting is a form of protection. If the blessing arrives too soon, it can overwhelm. If it arrives too late, the heart can grow tired. But when it arrives right on time, it feels effortless, as though the entire universe conspired to bring everything together in one beautiful moment of fulfillment. What you are waiting for might be waiting for another piece to fall into place, a person you must meet, a door that must open, a skill you must complete. The delay is not empty time, it is sacred time. It is the incubation period where what you manifested in imagination begins to take form in the physical. Just as a seed must remain underground, unseen, before the sprout emerges, your desire is growing where you cannot yet witness it. The silence is not absence, it is development. The stillness does not mean nothing is happening, it means everything is being prepared perfectly. When impatience rises, remind yourself that the universe has not forgotten you. When doubt whispers, remember that your blessing is not being held back, it is being perfected. Nothing good is ever withheld. What is meant for you cannot miss you, and every moment of waiting is pulling you closer to the breakthrough that has always been destined. Hold your faith not by the calendar, but by the certainty that what is yours is inevitable. Trust the timing, honor the process, stay aligned with the end result. Because when the moment is right, what once felt delayed will arrive with such grace and clarity that you will say, "This was worth waiting for." Persistence is the evidence that you already believe the outcome belongs to you. When you persist in a vision, when you keep holding the end result in your mind despite what the outer world shows, you are proving your faith, your certainty, and your alignment with what you have claimed. Persistence is not struggling or forcing things to happen. It is staying loyal to your desire, no matter how loudly circumstances attempt to contradict it. It is the inner stance that says, "I will not quit because the end is already mine." Every breakthrough requires the language of persistence. The moment you choose to hold a new reality inside yourself, the old reality often rises up to challenge you. Not because you are wrong, but because you are shifting into something greater. The world outside reflects past beliefs, and persistence is the bridge that moves you from the old to the new. When challenges appear, when delays stretch longer than expected, when doubt tries to creep in, your persistence reminds you that the story is not over. You keep the vision alive, and because of that, the end must unfold. Persistence is proof of identity. When you persist, you are stepping into the version of yourself who already has what you desire. You think as them, you act as them, you feel as them. That identity shift is what triggers the change in your external world. Life is always responding to the person you believe you are. Persist in the identity of success, and success becomes inevitable. Persist in the identity of love, and love must appear. Persist in the identity of abundance, and abundance cannot be stopped. It is easy to hold faith when everything is going right, when signs are everywhere, when progress is visible. But true persistence shows its power in the silent seasons, when nothing seems to move, when prayers feel unanswered, when you walk blindly, guided only by your inner knowing. Those are the moments when the universe is watching to see if you truly believe. Those are the moments when miracles are being arranged, tested, and prepared. Persistence is not you waiting on the blessing. It is the blessing waiting on your unwavering commitment. Every time you stay loyal to the end result in your heart, you weaken the old reality's grip on you. Every time you refuse to settle for less than what you envisioned, you command the transformation to continue. Persistence is a declaration. I choose the promised outcome over temporary appearances. And because the world must follow the dominant internal state, the end you hold must unfold into form. You are not persisting towards something uncertain. You are persisting from the truth that it is already done. You keep going because you know the finish line has been crossed in the unseen. You hold the feeling of completion until the outer world has no choice but to reflect it. So persist with courage. Persist with peace. Persist with the confidence that your desire is not running from you, it is running toward you. Your persistence is your proof, and proof always manifests. Every part of your journey, every challenge, every delay, every unseen battle has been evolving you into the person who can receive the victory already written in your name. Nothing you are facing is working against you. The unseen realm is aligning miracles. Divine intervention is unfolding behind the scenes. Your imagination is commanding the world to shift. Your unwavering faith is sealing the outcome, and your persistence is proving that what you desire is already yours. You are not fighting for victory. You are fighting from victory. The blessing exists. The breakthrough is on its way. The promise is alive within you. Hold the end in your heart and refuse to let go. Because when you remain aligned with the finished result must appear. Walk forward with confidence. Stand strong in belief. Never let temporary appearances convince you of anything less than the truth. God is fighting your battles, and your triumph is guaranteed. Your story is not over. The best chapters are unfolding right now. Victory is coming soon. Don't give up. You are closer than you think. Thank you for listening, and may your faith lead you straight into the amazing future that already belongs to you.